Hi greedy 3Ders and welcome to another episode. Today I'm going to be painting the Sanix Wonder Woman bust here. Now I have done another Wonder Woman, as you probably recall, but it fell off the shelf and smashed into a billion pieces, and I think this place is haunted, but that's probably a story for another day, as it's not the first one to fall off and smosh. Hope you enjoy the process of painting today, and if you like what you see, just subscribe to the channel. Every subscription helps, every subscription grows the channel. Lots of comments, lots of feedback would be really appreciated. If you like something, if you don't like something, if you want to see something, let me know. But just stay tuned today and I'll show you how I painted Diana Prince, old Wonder Woman here. Here we have the Wonder Woman bust from Sanix, and I've printed this on my Elegoo Saturn and it's come out absolutely lovely. So I'm just using some matte black primer from the Army Painter to give her a coverage all over. I'm not going to show you the whole process, but you really must prime your prints before you do any work on them at all, especially if you're doing faces like this, as you can use a little bit of zenithal shading. I'm moving on to the colour triad from the Army Painter mega set, starting off with Nomad Flesh and just working from the top down. I'm going to try to keep the shadows under her nose and her lips and under her hairline where they are. Now sometimes you've got to go all the way over there, otherwise you're going to just get black areas, but keep the layers under where the shadow would be very light and try to work from the top down on the hold with your base layer of flesh. There's going to be quite a few layers of flesh going on and a little bit more work doing on a face, but I'm just going to concentrate now on that base layer. Moving on now to the next shade up, the Barbarian Flesh, and I'm only going to touch certain areas with this, again coming down from the top where the light would naturally hit Diana Prince. I'm going to just highlight those areas to give depth and texture to her skin. Once I've done that bit, down to the highest of the shades, the Wildling Flesh, and I'm just gently going to do the same again. Now I always say this, but be careful you just don't turn her into a really pale looking anemic. Just give her a few layers from the top working down. Now onto a little bit of alien purple and well watered down with some water to create a wash, and I'm going to wash her over in purple to just give that impression of some blood running between the skin and the bone, just to give her a little bit of colour and a bit more depth and shade. And that's the airbrushing done for this part of the face. Now we're moving over to the paintbrush section of the build, and I'm just using some pink to add a little bit of blusher to her face. She's got the base layers in now, but we're just going to add a little bit of interest and a little bit of colour to her face. And I'm using a nice large dry brush to just dry brush some pink into the cheek areas, not overdoing it. I don't want to make her look like she's a clown. I just want to give her a little bit of colour. And if you've seen me do eyes 1,000 times, apologies, but this could be your first video with eyes, and I wanted to show you how I do them. So layer of black on the inside, especially on female characters, where you can just overlap it to the edge to give her a little bit of an eyeliner effect and a little bit of a black effect on the edge of her face. Now Sanix designs his models here, or has in this case anyway, with the eyes in situ, and that's not my favourite way of seeing it. But that is how he's done it on this one. So once the black's in, I've moved on to a nice red, and I'm just going to give her lips a really bright red coat. I am going to downplay the lips a little bit by putting a layer of whitey pink on the bottom. Back to the eyes. Now this is where the black has come into effect, and if you can see what I'm doing here, I'm just adding a white layer inside the eye and inside the black, and that will create a natural eyeliner effect again, especially on the female characters. And if you can see, I've just moved up the edge of the eye and on the inside, and that again adds to the effect. I really don't enjoy doing eyes. No matter how many I do, I always think this one's going to turn out awful, and I think we all feel the same about them, don't we? Just once that white is in and has had a chance to dry, and it's a white with a hint of grey, not just pure white, I've took a dollop of black and I've just dobbed it into the holes that Sanix has made to put the eyes where they need to be. And then once I've done that, I'm going to use some black to do her eyebrows. A very thin brush, and I'm not going to just paint it across in a line. I'm going to try and stipple it onto there. Now, moving on to her chest plate, and I'm going to just put some greedy gold on there. If you can see her now, the video camera did go kaput when I did her hair, so I have actually given her hair a layer of black and a little bit of gold on the braid around her head, and I'm moving on to that same gold now just to do her uniform. Don't you love faux pas in videos when you're trying to make a video and missed all that wonderful black work, which was just done with a narrow brush and then backed up with a big one. Some pure red on her uniform here, and this is the second layer that's going on, and I'm just using a nice big brush and I'm just going to plonk it on there. Now this isn't going to be the last layer of red that goes on there, we'll be coming back to that. And some Kraken blue for her uniform. Now there's a couple of things here. There's the wet palette that I've used, and you can pick up one of those wet palettes from Amazon, and if you follow the links in the description, I have an Amazon affiliate link and you can buy one directly from there. Won't cost you guys any more, but a little will come back to the channel, and you can see my wet palette there has been absolutely battered. Moving on to a little bit of the leather brown for her strap, and I'm giving that a once over. Make sure you don't just do the front, it's got an edge to it as well, and it's really important you get the detail and just give that edge a little bit of a blast too. You can also see that I'm using the Project Paint Station that I reviewed on my last video, and I'll put a little link up here for you. Moving on to the emerald here, and this is like a metallic colour, and we said that weren't going to be the last bit of work we did on the uniform, and I'm just dry brushing that across, and you can see that straight away it's made it look almost metallic in nature, which is what we want. It's kind of like an armour in the movies, and just to enhance the armour a little bit more, I'm using some silver, and I'm using a nice big dry brush, and I'm just going to dry brush across that red to give it a real metallic look. I'm using the same silver on her hair to give her hair a shimmer and a shine. Now don't overdo this, don't make her look like she's grey, I just want to make it look like her hair is shining, so not too much, and that will do the effect absolutely wonderfully. Using a wash for this section, and you can get the washes again from the Army Painter or my affiliate link, and I'm going to just dab that on to the leather belt, and then I'm going to wipe it straight off again, and what happens is the darkness will settle into the little grooves and nicks of the belt, and then the outer layer we just wipe it off and it leaves a very light shade. That's not the last I've done on the leather, but it's the last for this section. Back to the silver, and I'm just going to go over her skirt a little bit just to give a little bit of life into her skirt and brighten it up. We're also going to do a little bit more work to the skirt, but I just want to make it look a bit shimmy. And back to some of this dark tone on a skirt, and exactly the same process here. Paint it into the nooks and the crannies of her skirt, and then once you've got a nice layer on there, take your kitchen roll, dab it off, and then put it back in the other places around the skirt, and that's the process you use to give a little bit of definition to something like some clothing or maybe her top here, and I'm doing exactly the same into her top. Moving back to the greedy gold just for the brim of her skirt, which in the reference pictures is gold, so I'm just using a nice narrow brush, and I'm going to just do some strokes across there, and that just adds a je ne sais quoi, if you like, the finishing touches to the model. And some good old skeleton bone, my favourite. Back to the leather, and that will be the leather effect done on the model, and it adds a bit of age and a bit of wear and tear. And last and not least, I'm going to add a little bit of grey primer, and I'm going to dry brush it around the base, and she is done. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the build. I think it's time to have a little look at what she looks like all complete.
Let the devil wear red, my gaslight. Let me shoot a film about your life. Mirror cracks into pieces, revealing your life.